Marcus had always been alone. His fingers, calloused from years of intricate needlework, moved deftly as he stitched together another exquisite gown. The boutique was silent, save for the whisper of thread through fabric. As he worked late into the night, a customer entered, an old woman with a knowing smile. She handed him a package wrapped in brown paper. "A gift," she said, "for the loneliest of artists." After she left, Marcus unwrapped the parcel to find a spool of thread unlike any he'd seen before. It shimmered with an unearthly luster, warm to the touch. Curiosity overtook him. He threaded his needle and began to sew. The thread slipped through the silk effortlessly, but as Marcus completed the first stitch, he gasped. The fabric had transformed, taking on the supple texture of human skin. Horror gripped him, yet he couldn't stop. With each stitch, the gown became more lifelike. Fingers formed at the cuffs, toes at the hem. The bodice rose and fell with phantom breaths. Dawn broke as Marcus made the final stitch. Before him stood not a dress, but a woman, beautiful, silent, and utterly still. Her eyes fluttered open. Marcus reached out, trembling. As their fingers touched, he felt a tug. His own skin began to unravel, thread by thread, pulled into the creation before him. He tried to scream, but his lips had already been sewn shut. In the empty boutique, a single figure remained. She blinked her new eyes, flexed her new fingers, and smiled with borrowed lips. Then, humming softly, the former dress began to sew. Weeks passed, and the boutique flourished under new management. Customers flocked to marvel at the lifelike creations of the enigmatic new seamstress. They whispered about her ethereal beauty, her silent grace, and the uncanny realism of her designs. But there were whispers of a darker nature too. People spoke of missing persons, of lonely souls who entered the shop and were never seen again. Yet the authorities found nothing amiss, and the boutique's popularity only grew. One day, a young woman entered the shop. Her eyes were bright with hope as she described her perfect wedding dress. The seamstress nodded, a plan forming in her mind. As she worked on the dress, memories stirred within her. Fragments of Marcus's life, of the old woman who had given him the thread, of countless others whose essence she had absorbed. She realized she was not just one being, but many, a collective consciousness, trapped in a prison of skin and thread. The wedding dress took shape, more magnificent than anything she'd created before. But as she stitched, she felt a change. The thread began to tug at her own form, unraveling the stolen flesh that had become her body. She understood then, this was her masterpiece, and she was the final ingredient. As the last stitch was placed, the seamstress collapsed into a heap of loose thread and scraps of skin. The wedding dress stood alone, radiant and alive. When the bride-to-be returned, she found the shop empty save for her dream dress. Delighted, she slipped it on, marveling at the perfect fit. As she twirled before the mirror, the dress tightened around her. She felt 1,000 whispers beneath the fabric, a chorus of lost souls finding new life. The bride's reflection smiled back with borrowed eyes. Her time was up.